started, I am Sarah Lester. I'm the director of the Maplewood Library, and I know you all have a library card, right? Does everybody here have a library card?
No.
Of course you do.
No.
You will.
And if you don't, you can come in and get one for free.
Woohoo.
But we are thrilled to be here on at our final event of the Maplewood Ideas Festival, celebrating the talent and creativity with Mandy Gonzalez.
Yay!
And before I turn it over to Jane, I just want to give a quick thank you to the New Jersey Council for the Arts, the Friends of the Maplewood Library, the Maplewood Library Foundation, the Women's Club of Maplewood, the New Jersey Council for the Humanities, and Words Bookstore for sponsoring our festival. And as some of you know, we're building a new library in Maplewood. Woo. And right now, in 2 years, we're going to have a fantastic library to welcome you all back into. But for now, you can use our library, our Hilton Branch Library on Springfield Avenue for children and teen services, and 129 Boyden for adult services. And I'm very excited to welcome Jane Folger, who's the head of our children's services.
Yay!
Hi, everybody. Welcome. Really glad to see you here today. This is really exciting. Today we're very pleased to welcome Broadway star, author, and Soma resident, Mandy Gonzalez.
Hi, guys.
Now, some of you may know Mandy for her role in Hamilton on Broadway as Angelica Schuyler. Some of you may know her for her role in The Heights as Nina Rosario with Lin-Manuel Miranda, or as Elphaba in the Broadway production of Wicked. Or that for the adults in the audience, you might know her as Lucy Knox in Madam Secretary, or some. I love to hear those gasps. Okay. And if you didn't make it to Broadway or to New York City, you might have listened to Mandy's music. On her debut album, let me show this, Fearless. Oops. It's really fantastic, and there's a video to it, so watch that. Or her Fearless B-Sides album, really amazing. Or the Mulan 2 soundtrack. Did you know that? Mm-hmm. Or there's a recording of In the Heights that's really great to listen to. Mandy's voice is so beautiful, it might make you cry. But some of you may know Mandy as the author of 2 extraordinary new books for middle grade readers, Fearless and Boulevard of Dreams. Yay! Boulevard of Dreams was co-written with Brittany Thurman, who's also a nice, great writer too. These books are really exciting, fun to read. They're filled with mystery and talented kids that I'd really like to meet. Everybody will enjoy reading them, really all ages. You can read it to some pretty young, what do you think, Miss Latimer, Clinton School Librarian? Second graders would like them, I think.
Yes, but reading independently, I find like 3rd and 5th grade is a really nice thing to start.
Okay, sounds good. And they have the most perfect descriptions of a real Broadway show, behind the scenes, backstage, in the dressing rooms, rehearsing, and everything in between. They're realistic, magical, and page-turningly fantastic. So Mandy is also the proud founder of the Fearless Squad, or #Fearless Squad, a social media movement for inclusiveness and belonging, and these are the squad rules. We dream big, we embrace differences, we look for the good, we help each other when we fall. So check out Mandy's webpage, her books, her CDs, and her performances, as well as her fascinating social media. And now please welcome our local star, Mandy Gonzalez.
Oh. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you guys so much for being here today. I'm so excited to do this book event. You know, when I put out my first book, we were in the midst of the beginning of the pandemic, and so the only way I really got to see any readers was online. So it's so wonderful to see all of your faces. But I grew up in Los Angeles, California, very similar in my first book to the main character, Monica Garcia. I had a love of Broadway, and I had a very big voice. And my grandmother always said that to my mom, you know, Mandy's so loud, we have to help her. She's going to hurt herself. We have to put her into lessons. She's got talent. And my mom, you know, I don't come from a showbiz family, so my mom just said, okay. So really whatever my grandma put me in was what I did. And my grandma, I started with performances near my grandma's house at a dinner theater called the Showboat Dinner Theater. And at that dinner theater, they put on shows like Fiddler on the Roof and Man of La Mancha. But the best part about it was that you could listen to these incredible musicals, and they had all-you-can-eat pickles at the buffet. And my brother and I are huge pickle fans. My daughter follows in our footsteps. And so it was a place that, you know, because my brother had to come along to everything. He was very much into sports, so, but he knows all of, he definitely knows who Patti LuPone is. So he came to everything, but it was really my love of music and my grandmother who really guided my dreams. And I come from a family of two cultures. So I grew up Jewish and Mexican American. And so I grew up a part of all different traditions, but both sides of my family are very much into superstitions. And that was a big part of my upbringing, you know. My dad always put pennies above the door for good luck. We always had elephants in every room that would face the windows so that it would bring good luck into the room. And so I found that when I got to Broadway, it was a place that was also full of superstitions and traditions that I had no idea existed. You know, I brought all of my traditions that I grew up with. Like, I still have elephants in my room to this day in the dressing room. I have the penny above the door. But I came into a world that had these superstitions that I didn't know existed. Like, you can't, does anybody know what you can't say in a Broadway theater or in a theater in general? Or if you've read the book, what's something that you can't say? Miss Shea, yes? Good luck, right? What do you say instead of good luck? What do you say? Break a leg. What's something else that you can't do in a theater that's supposed to bring bad luck in a theater? Does anybody know? Exactly. We have to say, no, we're not in the theater now, but you have to say the Scottish play, right? Anybody else? Anybody else? Yes? The light, yeah. So they have a ghost light that they put up in every Broadway theater. So the lights never go out on Broadway. Every night in our theater, a man named Sean, who is a stagehand, and our electrician, puts the light on the stage. So I don't know if you've been to a Broadway theater, if you've been to a theater, you'll see that light on the stage when you first come in. And they say it's so that nobody falls into the pit, the orchestra pit, which is in the front. But really, it's for, I definitely believe in ghosts, but it's for the spirits and the ghosts that are still there. Because so many people have been in and out of that theater and have been a part of it. And even sometimes when I've been in rehearsals in a Broadway theater and it's really dark in the theater, all of a sudden I'll hear a door open. And then I'll see something on the other side, or there's a flash of some kind. And I always think, like, who was here before and who's still here? It's kind of like the Phantom of the Opera. I'm a big believer in those kind of things. And so when I was first sitting down to write Fearless, I thought about what it would be like not to have my grandma part of my grandma who I grew up with, but also my abuelita, who worked very hard in Northern California in a town called Reedley, which I put Monica Garcia from. What would it be like for her to come with me to New York, to Broadway? Because she worked so hard my whole life, and I don't think she ever saw me perform at a performance or anything like that, because she was always working, and I mean really working very hard. And so I decided that Monica Garcia was going to have an abuelita that was going to be both of them and come to Broadway with me. And so it was so much fun to have that adventure with her and to, show her New York, and for her to also teach a little bit of Monica what New York is about when you have a little bit of chutzpah. I don't know if you guys know that word. But, my grandma is definitely the one that would say, Grandma, I was on the subway and, somebody pushed me, I was on the subway and somebody knocked into me. And she said, Mandy, elbows out. And so it was never about, it was always kind of teaching me to be fearless and to these little things that would help me along the way. And I know we all have somebody in our life that teaches us to be fearless, because we all have those moments where we have a little bit of fear. So I hope these books take you on that adventure and show you that it's not about getting rid of the fear, but it's about seeing the fear and doing it anyway, and to keep going. So I thought today we would have a little bit of fun, and I would teach you guys a little Broadway warm-up. Would you like that? So this is something that I get to do before we ask questions and things like that. This is something that I do every night when I'm getting ready to do a Broadway show. And so this is something definitely that Monica Garcia and Relly Morton get to do before they get to do their Broadway shows at night. So I thought this would be fun. This is something you can definitely do at home and practice, because this is something that I started to learn, and I started to go, oh, it takes a lot of different skills to do what these people are doing on the stage, and I just need to know those little secrets. And sometimes it's just about finding those secrets that can open up a whole new world of possibilities. So I brought my daughter Maribel Molini and her dear friends. If you guys want to come up, and we can do some of the warm-ups together. So if you guys want to stand up, we'll do some of these together. Yeah. Oh, that's okay. We'll do it. Yeah, we'll do it all together. We're all here to help. Whoever wants to come up. So we're going to stand up here, okay, guys? All right. And if you guys could help the little one, that would be great. So what we're going to do is, this is so great. Sorry. So we are going, let's take some space from each other. So we have some space. Good idea. Good job, Evie. So here we go. And now what's something that we say on Broadway whenever we're going to dance or we're going to warm up? What are some numbers that we call out? Does anybody know? 5, 6, 7. Exactly. Can we do that together? We go, here we go. 5, 6, 7, 8. So we're going to do that a lot, because it's something that I do whenever I'm cleaning or just randomly, because it's just always in my brain. So I'm going to go 5, 6, 7, 8, and then we're going to go stretch up and down. So just follow along, okay? But these are some of my physical warm-ups that I do every night on Broadway. Okay, you guys ready? Here we go. 5, 6, 7, 8. Stretch up. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And down. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Again and up. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And down. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And shoulders back. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And forward. 2, 3, 4. Good job. 6, 7, 8. And back. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and forward. 2, good job. 4, 5, 6, and head around. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Other way. 2, 3, 4, 5. That feels so good. Right around. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Other way and up. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we're just going to shake it out. We're just going to shake out all the sillies. Woo! And now, when you sing on Broadway, what's the place that you breathe from? Maribel? What's that area? Diaphragm. Your diaphragm. And where is your diaphragm? Yes, exactly, Miss Latimer. It is the place between your rib cage and your belly button. So if everybody puts their hand, good job, still doing the stretches. If everybody wants to put their hand on their diaphragm, we are going to do an exercise on 4 short S's, because when I'm singing songs from Wicked or Hamilton, and I had to hold my breath a long time, this is where I find my power from. So we're going to do 4 short S's. I'm going to show you, and then we're going to do it together, okay? So it's going to go s, 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 5, 6, 7, 8. S, 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 s. Good job. So now we're going to hold it for 8 counts, okay? Here we go. 5, 6, 7, 8. Good job. Now we're going to hold it for 12 counts. Think you can do it? Here we go. 5, 6, 7, 8. Should we hold it for 16 counts? Can we do it? Let's try it. 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh my gosh, that was amazing, you guys. You did it. So now when you're singing Defying Gravity and you're holding that note at the end, that's exactly how long you're going to hold it for. And that's what you have to do every night as you're flying up on that harness. It's like so crazy. So now we're going to massage our jaws. Yes, massage the jaw. Because when you sing on Broadway, you sing a lot. You use your jaw a lot, and it gets super, super tense. So I just try to massage it. Feels good, right? And I know when you're at school, you're talking a lot. And the mask, it just makes it even harder. So now we're going to massage. So I think we're ready to sing. What do you think? Yeah? So we're going to do a scale. And with the scale, we're going to go, can you do that? Perfect. So the scale's going to go 6 notes, okay? And I have trouble doing the. So if you're like me and you have trouble doing that, my teacher always told me to put my finger where my dimple is. If you don't have dimples, you can borrow mine, okay? And you put your finger right there, and we're going to just do this scale for about 5 times, okay? So here we go. 5, 6, 7, 8. Good job. Go, Luke. 2 more, you guys are so good. 1 more. I'm sorry, we have some singers in here. You guys have definitely done this before. So now we're warmed up, we've got our bodies warm, we've got like our lips warm, our jaws, all that stuff. You ready to sing? Okay, so we're gonna do an exercise on Bumblebee. And this is going to warm up your lips. Bumblebee, can you say that? Bumblebee. Okay, so it's going to go like this, and you're just going to follow along. So just come along when you can. Bumblebee, 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 bumblebee. Show the bumblebee. Here we go. Bumblebee, 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 bumblebee. Bumblebee, 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 good job. Bumblebee, 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 bumblebee. 4 more, you guys are amazing. Bumblebee, 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 bumblebee. Bumblebee, 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 bumblebee. I hear those head voices. 1 more. Bumblebee, 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 bumblebee. Bumblebee, 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 bumblebee. Good job. Thank you guys for doing the warm-up. Take a bow. Take a bow. Good job, helpers. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for doing that with me. Now I don't have to warm up tonight. It's so amazing. I can just go to the theater and do my makeup and all the other stuff. But thank you guys so much for being here. I know you must have questions, or if you don't have questions before we get to signing books and things like that, I would love to talk about whatever it is that's on your mind. And my helpers, if I don't see a hand, please take a look and see if there's any hands that are up. But anybody that might have a question. Yeah.
Do you have any part of yourself in Monica that you love? Do you have any part of Monica that's kind of like yourself?
Yeah, so much of Monica is me. You know, from her overalls that she wears to her long hair that she constantly, curly hair that she constantly twirls. That was definitely me. I think the parts of Monica that I don't show always on the outside, which are more reflective and introspective. I think that I'm a more very outgoing person when you meet me, and so I put that part of myself into some of the other characters. But I think that Monica and her ability to hold her talent, in and to know when to let it out, that's definitely something that I had to learn along the way. But Monica's definitely me. She's tall and curly hair, all of it. Anybody else? Yeah.
How long are rehearsals?
So rehearsals are always, unless it's an emergency situation, you always get a month. So you always get 30 days. Whether it's a new Broadway show or you're coming in to replace in a Broadway show like I did with Hamilton and with Wicked, the only difference is when you're in a new Broadway show, you're rehearsing with all the other characters. When you're replacing in a show like Hamilton, you get to rehearse for a whole month by yourself. So you rehearse for a whole month with the stage manager and the dance captain and the musical director, and it's not until the day before you go on, you get to do a rehearsal called a put-in rehearsal. And it's the first time you get to wear your costume. I remember the first time I got to wear Angelica Schuyler's costume and be on stage in that costume for the first time. It makes you feel all of a sudden very much like the character, but everybody else on stage with you is wearing their street clothes. So they're just there for their regular rehearsal to help you go in the show, but it's really not until opening night where you get the band and all of those things. But when you're doing an original Broadway show like In the Heights, you do it all together. So you're all having those experiences together, which is exciting. Yeah.
Do you not like anything about acting?
Do I not like anything about acting? Well, I don't like rejection. That's a really good question. And that's 90% of my job. When you're an artist, when you're an actor, 90% of my job is having to audition and sometimes getting it, but most of the time not. And having to get back up again and try again. So that's something that as I got older, I got better at, but it still hurts. Especially when it's a show that you think, oh, this is the show of my dreams, and I could be in this show. Like sometimes before I get an audition, I go, well, you know, that I haven't heard from them, so, you know, I don't even care about auditioning. That's not going to be the show that I'm interested in. And then all of a sudden I get the audition, and I'm like, well, yeah, I could totally be this character, and I could totally be in the show, and this is what I want to do. And then you get in the room, and you feel like you did your best, your absolute best. Or sometimes you get in the room, and you crack. Your voice cracks on that big note, and you think, oh, I blew it. This is it. And but there's nothing like having that good audition and feeling you like when you walk out of the room, you're like, this was amazing. But then not getting a call afterwards is also heartbreaking. So I think it's the rejection, and I think that it's something that we deal with in our daily lives. You guys, when you guys have to audition for plays or audition for a sports team or things like that, it's something that is just part of what we have to go through. So that's the part I don't like. Yeah. You know what? I speak a little bit of Spanish, but I'm not fluent in Spanish. So is that what you asked me? I'm sorry, I can't hear you, sweetie. Oh, do I see any of Angelica Schuyler myself? Absolutely. Sorry. Now everybody knows about my language barriers. But but I definitely see a little bit of Angelica Schuyler in myself. I think that being one of the older people in the company, I look at myself as their big sister, and everybody kind of comes to me for advice or when they have a problem, and I love that part because I love taking care of people. And I think because I'm the third of my family, you know, I have a sister and a brother that I've always kind of looked out for them and wanted to protect them. I think so. I think that I bring a lot of that to Angelica. And I've brought a lot to, I've had a good time. Yes, Maribel.
Did you like being Angelica more or like being...
Oh, that's a really good question. Do I like to be Angelica more or Nina Rosario more? Well, you know, I like both of them. And they both were so important at different times of my life. But there was nothing like playing Nino Rosario in the Heights, because all of those songs were written with me in mind. So all of those songs are tailored to my voice, and it's something that I help to create and be a part of. And so I think there's just nothing like that when you get to have, as an artist, when you get to create it from the ground up. There's just, you always have your imprint there. So, yeah. One of my favorite songs, I would say one of my favorite songs is Defying Gravity, because it took so much to get there. You know, speaking of rejection and a fear of, you know, I always have a fear of failure or wanting to be perfect at something. When I first got the job at Wicked, and I saw the show for the first time in a long time since I had seen it when it opened, I thought, how am I going to do this? This is so big, and there's so many songs to sing, and I don't think I can do it. I'm not going to be good enough. Oh my gosh. And so I had my first rehearsal, and at that rehearsal, when I was singing the songs, I was singing Defying Gravity. Like, I was so nervous that my voice was shaking. And I had to, my assistant director said, Mandy, you've got to start training. So I had to start getting out of my head of the story that I was making up. We all do that, right? When we're afraid of something, we all make up those stories of, and then this is going to happen, and this is going to happen, and then it never happens, and you're like, why was I doing that to myself? So I started to get really busy physically. So they had a treadmill, and I started to run on the treadmill at the show and sing the songs while I was running. And for some reason, I got out of my head doing that. So when I first opened in Wicked, it was such a triumph for me, not only because it was Wicked and I was flying and all these things, but it was a triumph because I overcame this thought in my head. Because I never say overcome fear, because it's always there, and we just have to learn to turn it a little bit to make it work for us. But that's one of my favorite songs because of that. Yes? You know, I started writing when I was really young, and I think, you know, both my parents worked full-time, but on the weekends, my mom would take us to the library, and it was my absolute favorite place, because at that time, I mean, it's still the same. You get a library card, but you had to, like, sign it, and you got to sign the book, and you got it stamped. And my mom took us to, like, almost every activity that was at the library. And I really felt like it was my oasis, because it was the one place that we could go, and she would say in the, you know, the kids section or wherever we were at whatever age, she would say, get anything you want. You have to give it back, but get anything you want. And I remember what that felt like. And then I would try to find these stories, and I was constantly looking for stories where I could see myself, stories that where the characters sounded like my family or looked like me, and I didn't have a lot of luck in that. And so as I got older, I decided that I was going to write stories so that I wanted kids to see themselves, to know that there is a life in the arts that's possible for them. And so that became my focus. But it was really, I started writing heavily when I had my daughter. And I think it's because, like everybody, we're reading so much, and we're reading to our kids. And that's really where my first character that I started to write about was Relly. And Relly is in the first book, but he's the main character of the second book. And he's based on and inspired by my friend Darrell Grand-Moultrie, who I met, and it has remained my best friend for 20 years. But we met in the swing room, because when you're an understudy on Broadway, they put you all in the same room, and we shared a mirror. And anytime somebody said something shady, we would look at each other, and we became best friends. And he's been my best friend ever since, but he grew up in an entirely different place than I did. And he had an entirely different story. He grew up in Harlem, and his life was very different than mine. And that's what I love, I think, about Broadway, is that everybody's coming from all these different places, but to create this one thing. But the stories are so important of those people that are there, you know? So I think that it started over 10 years ago when I started to write about Relly. And then I continued, and then I had somebody that said yes, and then this happened. So it's beyond a dream. Anybody else? Yes. I don't know. I think that, you know, I had so much that happened in my life during this process, but I think that, I mean, women, we run the world, right? Girls who runs the world. I think you have to figure it out. If you have a dream and you have, you know, you want it to happen, nobody's going to make it happen but you. And so if that happens, it's like, okay, when I have the break in between shows, this is when I'm going to write a few pages and have some time to myself, or I wake up earlier to do that. And, you know, I lucked out that most of this was before the pandemic, and I wasn't at home doing homeschool, because when that happened, that was just like all my time, you know, all our time went out. But I think that I definitely try to, I've learned to be a lot kinder to myself when I don't always meet the deadline, you know. But yeah, that's when I find it, whenever I can. Yes? Oh yeah, I have so many wonderful friends from, and I love that you're filming this answer and question. It's so a sign of the times. But yeah, that's such a great question. And I have so many friends that I've met along the way, you know, in my life, you know, from friends that don't do anything like I do. You know, my dear friend, you know, Lauren, Miss Latimer, who's become my friend, and my friend that was with me in the Heights. And, you know, I think that if you're lucky and you're a good person, you meet some really amazing people along the way, and, you know, they make your life much more full. Mm-hmm. Yes. I would say my advice for writing, and it's advice that I was given, is to do it every day. And even if you don't feel like writing or getting your thoughts out, it's important. And it's important to get it out and not try not to stop and go back until you just get out the thought. And it might not be anything. It might not be anything that you end up using. But there might be one thing in there that you go, oh, that's something. And then all of a sudden, the characters start happening. But I think that's the best advice that I was given, is just do it. And look for classes and teachers that will help you along the way. And there's so many in this town. You know, there's so many classes that you can take, you know, at the library even, so many free, like, experiences that you can have. And it's about that, about seeing something you love and having a teacher see that in you and go, oh, why don't you look at this after school, or read this book? This could open up your mind in a different way. And then with acting, it was the same thing. Take lessons. Start taking lessons and see what you like. And it doesn't mean that there has to be a show at the end, which is always fun, but that doesn't have to happen. You could just take singing lessons and say, oh, I like this. But start seeing, oh, I like this. I like it when, you know, because you have to figure out, are you somebody that likes to perform? You may like making music and doing that, but you may not like going up and singing in front of everybody and having people watch you. That might not be your thing. but it doesn't mean that you can't do something within the arts. So it's kind of try everything. That's what I say. And learn how to read music. Yes, sorry, Catherine. I'll move to this mic.
We have a question.
Okay, great.
Where did you meet Darrell? Like what show?
Oh, where did I meet my friend Darrell? I met Darrell in the show Aida, which is going to be coming back to Broadway. And Aida is, it's based on a famous opera, but it was written by David Henry Hwang, wrote the book, and Elton John and Tim Rice wrote the score, and Elton John sings that song with, recently, what's her name? Dua Lipa? Yeah, for those of you that may not know who Elton John is from other things, he does have another hit song out right now with one of the most famous pop stars at this time. So he just keeps going. But that's where we met. And he is an incredible, he continued performing, but he became a world-renowned choreographer. And he's actually going to be choreographing the new Aida, which is coming to Broadway. So you'll be able to see Darrell's work. Yes.
So I remember a time when me and Maribel were having a sleepover,
Uh-huh.
and we called you when you were backstage. And I was wondering what motivates you to keep going when you're in plays and things like that.
Yeah, that's a good question, Evie. And I remember that too. I love those times when we can FaceTime and I'm in full like beat and my wig cap. But what motivates me to keep going, because I get tired too, you know, like all of you. I'm up at 6, getting everybody ready, well, my daughter ready for school, but everybody ready to go out. And then, you know, I do all my other things. And then on Wednesdays, I have the 2 shows. And, you know, I think what keeps me going is the love of what I do. And the fact that I know that it's a new audience every night. Some people have seen the show before. I know some of you have seen Hamilton a couple times. I know you've seen it on Disney Plus, and then you may have seen it live in person. But it's knowing that we just, my friend Tommy Kale says it's so great. We did that last night, and it was so magical, but like, we get to do it again. We get to do it, it's a gift, you know, and we get to take people away from all of their troubles for those 3 hours. And that just brings me so much joy. And when I have a moment, I do realize how lucky I am. Yes. How many shows? I've been in 7 Broadway shows. So I've been working on Broadway for the past 20 years. Because I'm young. But yeah, a couple more questions. Yeah.
I was wondering if you found any similarities between writing a book and acting.
Absolutely. I find that I've learned that writing is, it's definitely a collaboration. If you're lucky, you have an incredible editor who is there with you throughout. And then you have copy editors that make sure that everything is legit, that you're writing about, and can look up everything for you. And then once you put your book out, you know, it's about the artist that makes your, you know, your beautiful book cover. And I really lucked out with the artist that made mine. And she is actually from my same hometown that my abuelita's from, which is so crazy, Nuevo León, and we never met. And finally, when we got to talk, you know, she read the book, and then she created both of these beautiful covers. You know, we got to talk, and she's like, "Oh, I'm in Nuevo León in Mexico," and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" So one day we'll meet once the pandemic's over. But I love that part of it. I love that it takes a whole team to make something happen, and that's the reason I think I fell in love with the theater, and why people like sports and things like that, because it's not all about you. You know, if you're lucky to realize that. Yes.
How physically demanding is Broadway?
Very.
And what do you do
To maintain, I think I drink a lot of water, which is important for what I do, because I'm a singer. I try to take care of myself physically. That's one thing that does lack with my busy schedule is my workout schedule. I'm always calling Lauren and like, this week I'm gonna do this, and then it just doesn't happen. But before I had kids and that kind of thing, I definitely try to, eat well and make sure, not that I'm just taking care of myself physically, but that I'm taking care of myself mentally. So I make sure that when I am having issues or things like that, that I talk to somebody and talk about that. And I think that Broadway is so demanding physically, but also very mentally demanding because you are away from the people you love for a big chunk of your week, and that takes a lot out of you. So I think being true to yourself and being honest about that hardship makes you be able to do the work to help yourself, I think. But yeah, one more question. Yeah. I'm so sorry. I can't hear you. I've been very fortunate to play very strong women. Even the show that didn't make it, Dance of the Vampires, it only ran 3 months. But Sarah, she was a very strong 18-year-old. And I've played a lot of characters that have resonated with a lot of young people. And I feel so lucky to have that because when I do go to the stage door, before COVID and everything like that, a lot of young people would come to me and say, especially with Nina, like, I'm the first in my family to go to college, and this meant a lot to me, and I struggled through this, but I kept going. And so for that, I think everybody has a story of what the songs have meant to them. With Hamilton, it's like, I've waited 3 years or 5 years to see this show, but I watched Disney Plus with my family, and we sing this song together, and this is what it means to me. Those kind of things are, I think, string along throughout. But thank you guys so much. I'll be here to take pictures and sign books. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And thank you to my helpers.
All right, thank you. That was
Yes.